Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Welcome to obviously a bit of a change in schedule, so bear with me. Hopefully this is, well, I appreciate it's not what you're here to see, or you maybe weren't originally here to see, but hopefully I can keep you entertained for the next half an hour looking at Instagram and Pinterest and how to use them in particular to impact shopping habits. Just quickly before I start on that, just to let you know a little bit about who we are and who I am and why I'm here today. My name is Amy Hobson. I'm a digital marketing trainer and partner with a company called Social Bee. We are international digital marketing experts. We work with lots of different clients across lots of different industries. One of the beauties of digital marketing is that it applies to pretty much everybody, and the same principles apply no matter how big or small you are or how deep your pockets are. As you can see here, this is some of the companies that we work with. Personally, I've got, let's just say, an awful lot of experience in retail and franchise retail in particular, and digital marketing within that. I don't really want to admit how many years that is, but let's go more than 10, less than 20, somewhere in the middle. I'm particularly passionate about how retailers and small retailers can use social media and use it really well. And then when it is used well, it can make a real difference to not only your bottom line, but to your business development and growth and how you can use it to attract customers as well. So that's really, really important, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. It's something that I've got a lot of experience with working with both big and small businesses. So the things that we're going to look at today, hopefully I'll give you some ideas to how to work out where your audience could be. Are they on Pinterest? Are they on Instagram? Are they on both? Are they on neither? It might be that they're actually on neither. I'm going to look at an introduction to Pinterest and Instagram. How to use Pinterest to engage shoppers. Pinterest is a very powerful platform when it comes to engaging shoppers and actually pushing them over the line to not just become browsers but to become actual customers. We're going to look at Instagram's impact on consumer shopping habits as well, how Instagram is gradually changing. Obviously there was a time when it was just about the pictures, but that's all changed. And also one of the things that we're big passionate believers in at Social Bee is measurement. The thing that separates digital and also online and offline from a marketing perspective is the ability to measure. If you run an advert in a paper, you get a rough idea as to the demographic of the type of readership, but you don't know who's actually reading it the other side. With digital marketing, that's completely different. So you can see lots of information about who's visited your website, when they've bought, what time they're more likely to buy, where they've visited from, how you've acquired your traffic, what keywords they've used to find your site, what keywords they've used across social media to find you. So that ability to measure is really, really important. It's something that we are big believers in. If you're not measuring it, you're kind of missing the point of digital marketing. Just very quickly looking at social media as a whole. So it is very much obviously a global phenomenon. It is something that we all have use of, access to. Can I have a quick show of hands? Who's used social media at some point today? Yeah, me too. Not surprisingly, I work in digital marketing, so you'd hope that I would have at some point. Where you see a growth in internet, you see a massive surge in social media use not very far behind. So where there's more active use of internet, and obviously we're quite lucky here, first world problem for my children is when they can't get Wi-Fi. I do occasionally turn it off just to teach them that it isn't a right, it's a privilege. I'm a fairly cruel mum. But that's something that we're all used to, and because of that we've seen this massive growth in social media because it's available to us to use on the go. It's available for us to use while we're browsing the halls, while we're shopping, while we're with our friends, while we're waiting for people. We can check in places. And mobile's made a massive impact on how we use social media. And the two kind of push one another. So the capabilities of phones with camera and video means that you can include those in social media. The need for those in social media pushes the ability on phones. So those two actually work quite closely with one another. Within the United Kingdom, of a total population of about 65.31 million, just over 60 million are internet users and 42 million are active social media users. Now, when you look at the population and you take out the people who can't have an account because they're not old enough and the people at the other end of the scale who are just too old, my granddad's 95, he's part of the population, but he doesn't have access to mobile, then that actually sits at about 76% of the population who are active social media users. So that's absolutely huge. It used to be a case of, well, why should I be using social media for my business? Now it's kind of the opposite. It's why on earth aren't you using social media for your business? And that's switched really in almost really the last 5 or 6 years that's made a massive difference. Within social media use, so you've got those 42 million active social media users. As I said, realistically, although it's officially 64%, it actually sits at about 75, 76%. 30% of all time that we spend online is on social media. That's globally. So we all spend an awful lot of our time on there. Again, so if you're not on there as a business, you really should be. Or if you're using it as a business but don't really know what you're doing or why you're using it, then you need to try and find out the answers to those questions. And as I said, mobile makes a massive difference, not just to social media, but about how we buy, where we go, what we do, how we purchase, and how we make purchasing decisions. I'll be the first to admit, I've been in a store, I've seen something, I've Googled it to see if it's as good as it says it is, and I've Googled it to see if I can get it any cheaper elsewhere. Yeah? Yeah, lots of nods around the room, yeah, very much. That's what we do. And the access to the internet and something like Google has changed all of that. It's changed the way that we perceive things. It's changed how we make decisions. This conversation would not have been happening 20 years ago. Google's only 21. Yeah, hard to believe when, you know, it's become such an ingrained part of us. To Google is a verb. And looking at Google, if you have a website with whether it's e-commerce or not, it's really important that you're using Google Analytics to track how your customers are coming to you and what they're doing when they're on your site. If you only use it for those two things, so behavior and acquisition, you don't need to use it for anything else if you really don't want to, but those two things are absolutely critical, particularly to a retail business. So how many clicks is it taking before somebody actually purchases? How many times does somebody click through? What pathways do they take? Do they come from Google? Do they come from social media? Do they come from a paid advert? Do they come paid for social? What's the pathways that they take? And that's something that behavior within Google Analytics will help you understand. The other side of that is acquisition. And acquisition within Google Analytics will actually tell you where your audience are being acquired. So where are they coming from? How are they clicking? Is it an organic search? Is it a paid search? Is it a referral from another website? Is it social media itself? Yeah, and within social, it'll then break those down for you for your individual social media platforms, so you can see exactly where that traffic's coming from. If you've got e-commerce switched on within your website, which hopefully if you've got an e-commerce site you will have, there's an awful lot of companies who don't, I'll be honest. It amazes me how many people we still deal with who don't have that switched on. If you have that switched on within Google Analytics, it will also tell you exactly how much each of those people have spent on those individual platforms. So how many conversions, what's your average spend? It's absolutely vital from an analytics point of view that you know where your customers are coming from to buy. Yeah, in an offline world, we ask that question very often. We'll say, oh, you know, where did you hear about us? Do you live local? Have you seen us before? Where have you seen our adverts? You ask those questions as part of the conversation, but we forget that we have the ability to do that digitally by looking at the analytics that sit behind. So looking at the two main ones that we're talking about today, Pinterest and Instagram. Pinterest is very much about inspiration and aspiration. So it's about a world that you go to discover products that you love, products you might have, products that you might want. As a regular pinner, Pinterest is my safe space. Yeah, it's my happy place that I go to. Yeah, I'm a single mum with 4 boys, yeah, aged between 16 and 9. They invade my house on a daily basis, no matter how many times I try and stop them. Pinterest is the world that I go to where the settees are straight, the cushions are on the settee, not on the floor. There's no Lego scattered everywhere. There's no storage containers empty because everything's been left on the floor. But that's what Pinterest kind of shapes. So it's everything to do with your home, your fashion. If I want to change the colour of my hair, I do so on a frequent basis. That's the first place I go to look. Is Pinterest. That's where I go to search. And as you can see here where it says that stat just on the second point, 39% of Pinterest users use the platform to search before they go to Google. So for certain things, definitely that's the first place I go. If I'm looking for a particular outfit, a particular theme, party, recipe, idea, hair, tattoos, all of those things, that's the first place that I will go to look for them. Yeah, I bypass Google to some degree. What that also means is that you're in a slightly different headspace when you use Pinterest. You are more susceptible to buy than you are on something like Facebook, where you're looking at what was done at the weekend, where your friends are going, what's happening, what events are coming up close to you, what your friends are doing. You're having a bit of a nose about life in general. On Pinterest, we go there with a slightly different headspace. Pinterest also has a predominantly female environment, so it's about 83% female in the Western world. In some of the newer countries where it's been developed, Asia for example, it's actually more 50-50. So it is a more female environment than male. However, in the US, more men use Pinterest than as the combined readership of GQ, Men's Health and Forbes magazine. So even though it's a lower percentage, it's still a massive amount of people. Instagram is obviously owned by Facebook, so it's part of the Facebook family. Over 1 billion active monthly users in 2018, so it reached its peak in 2018, not very long ago. It's very much about showcasing products and brands, but it's also about showcasing who you are as a brand and as a company from a behind the scenes point of view. It's not just that very slick product image. It's all about showing a little bit of your personality and showcasing that along the way. Instagram is obviously very image led, so it's very image focused. That's where you can't create something without having an image attached to it. So that goes without saying. Similar to Pinterest, it has a slightly higher female usage. Yeah, so it sits at about 58%, just as a comparison so that you get a feel for that. Facebook is about 50-50. It's very slightly more female than male, but it's about 50-50. So looking at Pinterest first, Pinterest has changed a lot over the course of the last couple of years. They've done lots of work on their AI part of it, so the artificial intelligence that's running in the background that's curating the lists that we see and the pins that we see. And you can see here, this is an example of a guided search. So Pinterest used to be a little bit awful for search, I'll be honest with you. You had to really root around before you found something. But with guided search, what that gives you is lots of suggestions. Now, as a user, that's fantastic because that's where you get lost down the rabbit hole. That's where you keep clicking through on different ideas, different things, maybe different colours, combinations, all those kinds of things. By using those guided search buttons that appear across the middle, so those coloured squares that appear across the middle. What that also means from a marketer is that you can use it to do research. So you can go onto Pinterest, do a search, have a look and see what is associated with the things that you would have as your products and your brand. So the things that you think your customers are searching for on Pinterest, what else are they searching for as well? Because the whole point of social selling isn't actually about the selling. It's about being social. Yeah? A lot of businesses get social selling very wrong because they concentrate on the selling part of it, so they broadcast. They tell everybody how fantastic their products are, how great their service is, how wonderful they are, how they should buy from you, why they should buy from you. But actually that isn't what people want to hear. Yeah, they want a conversation. They want to find out the benefits maybe. They want to find out about other things. They want to know that you're involved as part of the community. They want to have a conversation with you. And it's actually that social part that works better. If all you do is sell, it's the equivalent to somebody walking into a bricks and mortar store and you walking up to them with a product and going, buy this. Yeah, you wouldn't do that in real life, but on social media we feel it's acceptable, but it isn't. What's actually really important is the social selling. What this gives you is the ability to see the other things that your audience are searching for. What other connections are there? What other products, what other themes are they looking at that you can use and you can relate back to it? I've got a very good friend of mine who runs a wedding event company. She does pretty much everything except the dress, the venue, the car and the cake is how she describes it. So she does the weddings, the themes, the colours, the bridesmaids. She helps with all of the flowers, all of those kinds of things. Her most popular pin that drives more traffic than anything else on her Pinterest, and she gets a lot of traffic through Pinterest, is a board talking about the right wedding dress for your body shape. She doesn't sell dresses. She doesn't tailor dresses. She has nothing to do with dresses. But that's what her customers are searching for on Pinterest that's bringing them through her door in effect. Yeah, because they're seeing that she's pinned something that's relevant to them. They're clicking through to see what else she's pinned and they're seeing her products and her services. Yeah, and just as a side note, if you're a wedding business of any kind and you're not on Pinterest, you're completely missing a trick. Yeah, something like 25% of wedding boards are created before somebody's even been proposed to. Yeah, inspiration, aspiration, those two really important things. With the guided search, obviously you can click through on those boxes and then those boxes will take you to another curated list. Yeah, and Pinterest are learning all the time on this. They've got some really good AI running in the background that's helping us to make decisions, that's pointing us in the right direction. And it's important, obviously, that you're also found not just within Pinterest, but outside Pinterest as well. So with a Google search or a search engine search, you would want to be able to appear on there, and you're going to appear on there by making sure that you've got the right keywords in your biographies and those kinds of things. Yeah, so that across the whole of your digital landscape, you're using the keywords that customers will use to find your products. Yeah, that's really, really important. Other thing to bear in mind as well from a Google search point of view is that increasingly people will switch to a social application through this kind of a search rather than a website, because a website is seen as being static. Social media is seen as being more up to date. Yeah, what it also means is that if I go to a website, it might take me 10 times or 10 clicks to find the right page that I'm looking for, whereas on social media, I know the layout because everybody's layout is very similar. Yeah, so people will go there, so make sure that you're visible through those. Shoppable pins are something that are at the moment are only in the US, but we have been told, coming to the UK soon. We are normally second in line with Pinterest when they test stuff or when they have new stuff that they bring out. Alongside shoppable pins or shop the look pins will hopefully come the purchasable pins where you can actually click through on them. They are available at the moment in the US, and to some businesses we think in the UK there is definitely some experimentation going on with them at the moment, but they haven't been rolled out to everybody. What this is a little bit similar to Instagram shopping, where the white dots represent a clickable point. You can click through on those and see more information. You can then click through to the website and make your purchase. So it makes it very easy for the customer to actually shop. Yeah, not just look at it, but see it, look at it, make a decision and buy from you within literally 4 or 5 fairly easy steps. As I said, not available currently in the UK. We believe that it should be with us sometime early in 2019, so hopefully sometime soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that if you are a regular pinner. And you can use things like competitions to get user-generated content. So this is an example from COS. What COS are very good at doing is creating a wish list. So they ask their customers to create a wish list from their latest collection. They put that together in a board. They use the relevant hashtags. They monitor those. And then they allow one person a month to win their wish list. Yeah, so getting people to create user-generated content, to use the hashtags that you want them to kind of say to you, over here, look at me. That's a conversation that you're missing with your customers, or you could potentially be having with your customers. And running through underneath all of this is obviously your Pinterest analytics. Pinterest, like Instagram, it is not currently mandatory to switch to a business account. However, we recommend that you do. If for no other reason, then it gives you analytics, so you can see where people have pinned, what people have pinned. If you've got the Pinterest widget on your website, what this will also do is track how far that pin has been pinned and repinned and repinned and repinned. So it gives you that idea as to how that's traveling across Pinterest. One of the things I really like about Pinterest Analytics is the all-time best. So it always gives you your top one. So that's the one that you're always aiming to beat. The pin that's had the most impressions, the pin that's had the highest reach, the most repins, the most click-throughs. So it always gives you that all-time top, so you know exactly where you are and what your benchmark is. Just so you have a bit of a breakdown in Pinterest, because they talk about things slightly differently. So if something has a high impression, it's an indication that people are actively seeking that type of content. So they're using keywords that are relevant to that content, and that content is appearing. High repins show that people are interested enough to save it, and in effect to share it as well, because if I save it to one of my boards on Pinterest, my followers see what I've pinned. It's likely to come up in their curated email to tell them that I've pinned this from my board, or I'll receive a notification to say somebody else has pinned something from my board, so I can see that. Pins with high clicks indicate that not only are they interested enough to search for it and to click into the pin, but then to click through to it to find out more. Yeah, so this is your kind of, for example, from a recipe perspective, you think, oh, that looks quite nice. You click on it and think, oh, yeah, no, that looks really good to make. And then you click through to find out how to actually make it. Yeah, if you're looking to buy something, that last click through takes you through to something to be able to actually buy it. Yeah, so that's kind of those pins with high clicks are really the pins that you're aiming for. Moving on quickly to Instagram. Instagram continues to change and evolve. As I said, it's part of the Facebook family, so it's part of a massive juggernaut of social media that constantly changes, evolves, makes changes to the algorithms, introduces new things. So some of the new things that they've introduced fairly recently is obviously things like Instagram Stories, then live within Instagram Stories, and then things like multi-photo and multi-video posts as well. So you can layer items up, so you get more kind of bang for your buck from one click, if you like, so people can just very easily click through and swipe. They also have a search function there as well. Again, great for not only for your potential audience and customers to find you, but for you to find out and to do market research as well. This has changed very recently. I don't know if you're a regular Instagrammer, you'll have noticed it. When you click through on search originally, it gives you a curated list, and it separates them into sport, fashion, life, all those kinds of things. And that will change. So as you go into it, it will change throughout the day. That's an indicator of what you like, but also what's trending across Instagram in general. So keeping an eye on that will help you understand that. Obviously, when you do a search, you can click through on people, on top. So top is the most common, the most popular one at any given time. People will take you through to people with those words in your list. So for example, this one from a mummy perspective, you could do a search for mummy if you're aiming at parents, to see if you can spot any potential influencers within there, to see what those people are talking about, how they're talking about things. And then from a hashtags point of view, so this one here is from travel. So tags, these are all the tags. You can see the number of times those tags have been used. So should you be using those or not? Is there ones on there that you maybe haven't included? Having an experiment with some of the search terms. Are there ones on there that you should have included that maybe you haven't? And it'll give you obviously how popular they are. One of the things to note with tags though is to be wary of the really popular ones, and I'll explain why. Does anyone know what the most popular hashtag is on Instagram? It normally is. It occasionally changes, but it's normally this. Does anyone know? Hashtag love. Yeah, because we love this, I am in love, sweetheart love, all that kind of stuff as well. We're coming up to Valentine's Day obviously at the moment, so it's trending massively from a retailer perspective. What hashtags are is obviously a great way of indexing your content. So what you're really saying is, this is what I'm talking about. It's like putting up a bookmark or highlighting a page in a book. Yeah. The problem is if you're using something like hashtag love and you're relying on that for traffic, 35 million other people are also using hashtag love. Yeah. How are you going to get seen within that massive crowd? Yeah, what you're actually better off doing with Instagram in particular is having 8 to 10 hashtags that are really relevant to the content that you're putting out there. And make sure that 1 or 2 of those are unique to you. Yeah, so shop with and your company name, life with your company name, whatever that is, but have something that's unique to you that you use on all of them. And ideally you duplicate, triplicate that across all of your social media platforms. What you can also do, obviously, is check things like your following feed and your notifications. So who's following you? Why might they be following you? Who else are they following? Are your competition following you? Yeah, so you can have a look and see. You can do a little bit of research from a following perspective. What that also potentially opens up is collaborators or potential influencers. This is something, I've been here the last couple of days. So I was here, did 2 on Sunday and 1 yesterday. And one of the questions that came up at pretty much all of those was, how do I find influencers and how do I know if I should be working with them? Find them is research them. There are agencies out there who will put you in touch, but just do research as much as you possibly can. Look at who your audience are following, and if there's a common theme and the same name crops up time and time again, they're a potential influencer. As to how much you should pay for somebody, that's almost impossible to tell you. It's like a house. A house is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. They can be very expensive. If you are willing to pay and you want to pay, make sure that they have a very aligned audience. So it's not just that they like your products, but that their audience will potentially like your products as well. Within Instagram stories, obviously, you can add lots of different slides almost together if you like, so lots of different grams together, which will allow you to build a picture of your day. Yeah, stories, as you know, don't last forever, so they disappear. One of the advantages with stories is that when somebody goes into their feed, if they're following you, you will get that little circle around the top, yeah, and you will appear. So you're appearing front and central without somebody having to scroll through and scroll through and scroll through and scroll through to try and find you. So that brings you kind of right into focus at the top. This is an example from a company who are a fashion retailer, a company called Loved Robe. This is their Valentine's Day edit story, one of their stories. On the far left, you can see they've got the swipe up function. So swipe up and it takes somebody through to purchase. They then go through a series of different photos where they are establishing themselves as credibility. We know what's on trend. We know that this is the look that you want. We know that this is the right look for this time of year, for Valentine's Day. And then they've also included 2 user-generated content pieces at the end. Yes, this is where customers are talking about how great they are. Yeah, I can stand here all day and tell you how much we are appreciated by our customers, how well we work with our customers, how great we are at social media training, how great we are at PPC. You're probably not going to believe me, but if the random stranger sat next to you told you, you're going to believe them more. Yeah, it's just the way of the world. Yeah, I can give you stats, figures, all sorts, but you're much more likely to believe a recommendation from somebody, even if you don't know them. So having that user-generated content and encouraging people to use your hashtags. This is where if you've got those unique hashtags, encouraging people to use them. Yeah, all the big brands do it. They do it for a reason. It's because it generates conversation. And you can look at things like, obviously with your images, it doesn't have to just be an image. You can add text over the top. There are fairly simple programs you can use, like Canva, for example, which is free. Even the paid for version is brilliant on Canva. If you've never used it, give it a go. It is brilliant. Drag and drop, specifically made for small businesses to be able to create really good high quality graphics. Even their paid one, I think, is only about £15 a month and is well worth it because it will resize your social media photos for you, which is even better. What you can also do is obviously make sure that you reflect your theme. This is something that again comes up time and time again from a business perspective when I'm working with people, is you need to be recognizable. So across the board, when anybody sees you, whether that's bricks and mortar, your website, your social media, in person, you represent a certain brand and you represent a certain company and you represent a certain impression that you're giving to people. Yeah, and it's really important that no matter where they go, they know who it is. And if you look at some of the big names who do this really well, people like Marks and Spencers, yeah, people like John Lewis, McDonald's, yeah, who doesn't recognise the Golden Arches? Yeah, and that's not just really good branding. What that means is that you know what to expect, and that is translatable for small businesses as well. It's what we call omni-channel presence. Yeah, so that wherever people see you, they understand who it is who you are. What very often happens is that people can get a little bit confused because they see you on social media and then they come to your store and it's actually a bit, oh, hang on, I thought you were going to be quite young and bright and hip when actually you're quite traditional. And that can confuse customers, and that isn't something that you want to do. Obviously, we've already touched on hashtags, but looking at Instagram hashtags, you can have up to 30. A couple of times over the last couple of days, I've got asked why not just use all 30. Two reasons for that. One is that research shows that the Instagram posts that have the highest engagement have got between 7 and 10. Yeah, so it kind of makes common sense to do that. The other reason why is, well, there's a couple of reasons, other reasons why really. One is that you just become hashtag blind. Who sits and reads 30 hashtags? Yeah, we don't. Yeah, it just becomes a bit of a numbers game, really. The other reason is I would challenge anybody here now to come up with more than 10 hashtags that are completely relevant to the picture that you've put there. Yeah, it's an exercise that I do when I'm doing the digital marketing courses that we run, is I will challenge anybody to come up with more than 10 hashtags that are completely relevant, and they must be relevant. If I see a hashtag, I click through on it, and I see your product, it needs to be relevant to the search, otherwise you're just going to annoy me. You don't want to do that, because then you're not going to game me as a customer, you're actually going to turn me off. And obviously you've got Instagram shopping. So if something is purchasable through Instagram, you get the little grey speech bubble. You click through on that, it then takes you through to more detail on the page. You can then click through and view on the website, and you can buy. Really easy way of guiding your customers through a buying purchase route. Yeah, really easy way of moving them down the funnel. A couple of things you need to bear in mind with it. One, it needs to be simple. Yeah, you need to make sure that it's as easy as possible. We are very impatient as purchasers and buyers. We will very easily go elsewhere. Yeah. The other thing is to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. Because if you've got Instagram shopping and your website's mobile friendly, you're simply directing people to a brick wall. And guess what? If they love the product enough, what are they going to do? They're going to find a site that they can purchase on their mobile phones. They're going to go elsewhere. Yeah, so you must make sure that your site is mobile friendly. Might sound like, well, of course everybody's is. Believe me, they're not. Yeah, it's something we come across time and time again. Mobile-friendly websites, you've got to have it mobile-friendly nowadays. Instagram competitions, so this is an example from Feel Unique. They're tagging in Urban Decay Cosmetics, so the people who've obviously offered the products. So competitions are a great way of getting engagement, of driving conversation. And with social media, when we talk about conversation, we're not just talking about people picking up the phone and talking to you or coming into your store and talking to you. We're talking about likes, relikes, loves, you know, retweets, repins, all of those things. That's part of the conversation that you have on social media. And behind the scenes stuff as well. So making sure that people see it isn't always glamorous. Yeah, if you're a fashion boutique, having something that shows the behind the scenes before a model show. Yeah, before you've got a live show or something like that. Showing your products as they arrive, showing Christmas as it comes out of the box. Yeah, don't show that in August because that won't work for you. But showing that before you're getting ready, your new shop windows, all those kinds of things, your befores and afters, all that will help enormously because it adds a little bit of personality. And people still do business with people. They don't just do business with brands. They want to do business with people. And obviously you can embed. So you can embed Instagram into your website. Yeah, what that allows you for is a little bit more SEO juice. You can embed Pinterest in there as well. Yeah, just make sure that you're active, because if your last post was 3 months ago, if somebody comes to your website, that's going to make you look like you're out of business or you're just not bothered. And make sure you switch to an Instagram business account. This currently isn't mandatory, same with Pinterest. With Instagram, I'm fairly certain at some point it will be. If for no other reason than if you switch, it gives you access to your analytics. Yeah, so you can see the best time to post because it'll tell you when your audience are more likely to be online. It'll give you your demographics. It'll give you quite a lot of information about them because we give them quite a lot of information for a free account. We tell them lots of things, our name, our age, where we live, who we go out with, what we do, where we go. Facebook Synergy, remember. So it's all part of that same family. And then just a couple of quick case studies for you. This is a case study for Pura Vida bracelets, where it was all about giving back with bracelets. Ethically sourced, handmade, fair trade, fair living wage for the people who make their jewellery. Lots of beautiful photos used, in situ bracelets being worn, very similar to the photo that you've got here. All with the Shop Now call to action, so letting their customers know exactly what it was that they wanted them to do. They had an 18% increase in return on advertising spend. That's quite significant. If you're going to spend on advertising, you want to get the most bang for your buck. We all do. And a 25% reduction in cost per action. So what that also potentially means that although that campaign may have finished, they've increased their awareness because they've got more people who've clicked through to see what it's all about and to find out more. They may not have been ready to buy there and then, but they may be ready to buy in the future. The other example is Virgin Holidays, who used the stories really effectively recently. 150 million Instagram stories are viewed every day. 150 million people watch Instagram stories every day. Yeah, that's a huge amount of people who are looking at those bright circles around the logos at the top and are clicking through and watching them. I'll be honest, I watch David Beckham pretty much every day because that really is my happy place. I do follow them on Instagram. With Virgin, what they did very effectively was that they did live. So they did live within their Instagram stories. And what they really targeted it on was the basis of, you're sat at home in Birmingham, but look, you could be in Vegas, you could be in San Francisco, you could be living the nightlife in New York City. So it was done with lots of graphics over the top, lots of plays of videos. One of the things that's important with this is that they had a 5 times increase in video completion rate. So more people watched to the end, 5 times more people watched to the end than they normally would. That means people are really engaged. If people watch your video and they only watch it for 10 seconds, they're not engaged. If your video is 5 minutes long or longer, it's up to an hour in Instagram stories. They're not engaging with you. If they're getting to the end, that means they are highly engaged with you because they're actually taking the time out of their day to watch. Also led to a 10% lower cost per view compared to previous Instagram video campaigns. So they got more bang for their buck, which we all want. Couple of key takeaways for you from today. One is that content is king. Content is how you talk to your customers, so you need to make sure that your content is relevant to your customer, that they want to share it, they want to talk to you, they want to have that conversation with you. That's where content starts. Yeah, it's the right type of content to generate conversation. Customers are more likely to engage with quality content. Of course they are. If they see something that's relevant to them, they're much more likely to like it, comment, share, favorite, use your hashtags. Yeah? The more they do that, the easier they become to become potential customers. Yeah, because the more they engage with you, the more they'll see you. Measure and repeat what works. So look at your measurement all the time. Use it regularly. Don't just look at it once and walk away. Take a snapshot today. Where are we now? What am I going to do differently? How's it going to impact on what I'm doing? What are we trying to achieve? Are we getting close to it? Stay on brand. So always make sure that you know who you are on social media, who do you want to be, and that you're representing your brand at all times. And always know who your ideal customer is. Who are they? How old are they? What do they look like? What do they do for a living? What are their other interests? I'm a fairly traditional marketer in that I've been involved in marketing for a long time before digital was very big. And one of the exercises that I still do now with my digital customers is I get them to describe their super customer for me. The one that comes back, recommends, buys from you time and time again, tells all of their friends, shares your content across social media and writes reviews and recommendations. We've all got one, but they're the ones that we want to duplicate, triplicate, and they're the ones that we want to be able to contact. Where are they hanging out? Are they hanging out on Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook? Because that's where you need to be. Yeah, if you've got a fantastic Facebook, but all of your crowd are on Instagram, Facebook's a waste of time. You need to be on Instagram, and that's where you need to be working. That's it in terms of the slides. Just a little bit of extra information for you. We are a full service agency, obviously, so we do with all kinds of website builds, audits, PPC, all of those kinds of campaigns. We have currently got an offer on for Spring Fair attendees where it's £309 plus VAT instead of $399 plus VAT for our small business course. I do the Birmingham one, so if you were to book on the Birmingham one, you'd get to spend a whole half day with me. Yay. What we do, though, is we concentrate on the strategy behind making sure your small business gets found and that you get heard amongst the very loud noises that some of your bigger competition make. It's something that I said to you I'm very passionate about, so it's something that we focus on there. Does anybody have any questions? And I appreciate that.